Alrighty, let's get right into it, shall we? Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Friday live stream for, of course, today, August 22nd of the 2025 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next hour plus, we're talking all things fantasy football related. I'm sure many of you are curious as to my thoughts regarding the Christian McCaffrey situation, as Brian Robinson Jr., formerly of the Washington Commanders, has now been traded to the 49ers. Of course, we'll talk about all those kind of questions. If you do have a question in the live stream chat, you can go ahead and type that in. Make sure you go ahead and you include your scoring format, half PPR, full PPR. If it's a potential question regarding your team or your upcoming draft, how many teams are within your league, all the potential relevant information that is required that'll make my life easier to answer said questions. Please include them if possible. Again, if you want priority in regards to those live stream questions, be sure to go ahead and send in the super chat. I greatly appreciate all that support. But outside of that, again, over the course of today's episode, besides answering said questions, we will also be conducting a couple mock drafts. So for those of you who are interested, I'll be going ahead and typing or specifically posting the link to that so you guys can join alongside of me. We could talk that through and we'll figure it out as is. Hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Friday. Let's get into talking about, first and foremost, I know before anybody asks, I just want to talk about the Christian McCaffrey situation, because it's not really a Brian Robinson Jr. situation. It's more of the impact that it has on McCaffrey, considering how high I am within my rankings in regards to him going into this upcoming season. So first and foremost, this is my thoughts on the matter, and I'll probably repeat this over the course of today's episode or live stream episode on multiple occasions. The acquisition of Brian Robinson Jr. speaks specifically to the lack of running back depth that the 49ers currently possess. Due to the injuries that were sustained by Jordan James and Isaac Guerendo, there really wasn't any backup besides, potentially even Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, that's how much injuries the 49ers backfield has already had thus far this season, or this offseason in the preseason kind of training camp section, that they had to go out and sign Jeff Wilson Jr., who was not equipped to any team, and it was only brought in because, again, his familiarity with this entire backfield, and they needed depth. So in order to address said depth, they went ahead and they traded for Brian Robinson Jr. Yes, he is going to provide the potential of, a couple rushing attempts here and there in order to spell, and keep, I guess, Christian McCaffrey fresh. Now, am I dropping him outside of the top 5 of the running back position? No. But now at this point, I would prefer someone like Jahmyr Gibbs over him, who prior to this information, I wasn't as confident in that regard. But as of right now, I still see him as a top 5 back going into the season, because he is, again, being brought in. Brian Robinson is being brought in as a depth piece, so that in the event in which they need to utilize another running back, they have someone as talented as him, rather than the injury kind of slop that they currently have with Guerendo, James, and Jeff Wilson Jr. So again, I've adjusted my rankings accordingly. Those rankings, for those of you who are Patreon supporters, those have been updated and uploaded and are available to check out in terms of half PPR, full PPR, all positions, flexing, all that kind of jazz. That is posted on the Patreon. For those of you who are also trying to get my rankings for the remainder of the season, not only for your upcoming drafts, potentially you're drafting this weekend or later next week, you can go ahead and check out Betr. There's a link down in the description. Again, when you travel on over to their website, not only can you make plays that we're, of course, putting together all season long, but you can go ahead and make that first-time deposit, make a first-time minimum play within the Betr Picks section, minimum of $1, and then you'll be on my email list for the remainder of the season. So every single week for the remainder of the season, including Sunday mornings, you'll get rankings, so we can, of course, help you capture a 2025 fantasy football championship. Okay, so with my thoughts on McCaffrey out there, again, I'm still keeping him in the top 5 conversation, especially in a full PPR. Let's go ahead and let's continue on by answering some questions. I do see many of you in the chat, very familiar names. Anadi, what's up? Zolbu, BZ, Ando, Frank, how's it going? Jonathan, yes, OJ running, of course. A lot of very familiar names. But let's go ahead and let's begin with the first question here. We have Old J, who sent in a very generous super chat. Thank you, Old J Running. Says, great to be back. Nothing beats football. And Andrew, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Should I drop Cam Scatterbo for Jordan Mason, Braylon Allen, or Ollie Gordon? My starters consist of Chase Brown, Omarion Hampton, and Pacheco. As of this current moment in time, based on what we are anticipating to see out of the Minnesota Vikings backfield as a 1A, 1B tandem, with, of course, the 1A being Aaron Jones, but also him entering, an older age, the potential of him missing time, and potentially even kind of the process of transitioning this backfield for Jordan Mason to kind of be the future of the Minnesota Vikings running game. Yes, I would be willing to make that change, in which I'd rather have Jordan Mason going forward in comparison to the alternative names that you mentioned, Scatterbo, Braylon Allen, and Ollie Gordon. But otherwise, in terms of running back depth, you're pretty solid in terms of the Chase Brown or Marion Hampton duo as it currently stands. Thank you, Jay. Go Bill sends in a question. Says, keep 2 in my league before the draft. Which 2 between Burrow, Ladd, Rice, Bucky, and Garrett Wilson? I think it's relatively simple, unless you're playing in a 2-quarterback functioning league in which you can start 2 quarterbacks on a weekly basis, which I would assume is probably not the case for you, Go Bills. But if you were, then Burrow would be one of the keeps. Otherwise, my suggestion is to keep Ladd McConkey and Bucky Irving going into this upcoming season. That gives you the best chance of course, capturing a championship based on the fact that they are the 2 most valuable and highest potential scoring options, considering, again, Garrett Wilson has Justin Fields, and Rashee Rice is going to be serving most likely a 6-game suspension minimum. Sebastian Alex sends in a question. Sebastian, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says, I'm the 3rd pick in a half PPR 12-team competitive home league. What would you do for the first 4 rounds? Yeah, look, the way that I see it, if I'm at the 1.03, 12 teams, half PPR, very comfortable with the 1.03. I'm most likely leaning in the direction of running back. So seeing as the most likely outcome is that Chase and Bijan are the first 2 selected players on the board, the 1.03 is going to either be Saquon Barkley or Jahmyr Gibbs, which either of the 2 functions well. I'm very comfortable starting RB and being able to follow with a potential wide receiver, tight end, even quarterback in that second, depending on what lands in that position, or even going RB again. If Chase Brown falls to me in the second round, I'm happy with it. But the way that I see it, I'm very comfortable going Saquon or Jahmyr Gibbs. If it's me in a half PPR, I'm going to go Saquon. If it's a full PPR, I'll go Gibbs. That's kind of the differential as of this current moment. As for the second round, I'm probably looking to try to pair up a RB. I'm probably in your position, considering the half PPR. I want 2 running backs in those 3 rounds, and I want 1 wide receiver. So whether that wide receiver is selected in round 2 or in round 3, that's really just a matter of what's available at the time and what you anticipate to see come off the board in that the second round turning into the 3rd round, based on the 1.2 and the 1.01 selections. Now, as for your 4th round, could get into the tight end conversation if George Kittle's still there. Could get into the quarterback conversation if Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels is still there. If they are not, then you are once again going with wide receiver. So at that point, within the first 4 rounds, you just balance across the board, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and you're approaching as such. Looking towards the 5th round, maybe Joe Burrow is available there. Otherwise, I'm not really looking for a tight end in the 5th round. I'd rather just go ahead and continue to bolster either wide receiver or running back accordingly for the flex. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question, follow-up from Joel J. Running, who says, I got 1 more. Full PPR. Keep Chris Godwin or Jordan Addison or both. My starters are Lamb, Neighbors, McMillan, and Igbuka. Okay, so you have Lamb, Neighbors, Tedero, McMillan. Okay, so you have 2 stud rookie wide receivers who are going to ball out. Again, Igbuka, he's probably flying up draft boards to a very unsustainable position. Not unsustainable, because I think he'll be great. But it's just, the hype is beginning to really, really build. Like, when I started talking about him, let's say 3 weeks ago, we were comfortable grabbing him in the 9th round. Now I've got to fight to get him in the 5th. It's crazy how some of these pieces of information have kind of turned. Now, in terms of keeping Godwin or Addison, I'd much rather keep Addison. Godwin, the most recent report that was made just a couple days ago, was implying that Chris Godwin most likely won't end up playing until October. Now, that didn't mention whether it's early or late October, so he's still very much so in the recovery process since the second ankle injury that he, of course, had to have this offseason. The second of the 2 total. One was done after his injury against the Ravens in that football game last season. I think it was week 7 or 8, maybe 9. But yeah, I would rather keep Jordan Addison between the 2. And I would not keep both. At this point, Godwin's age, his injury history, I'm just going to rather keep Addison in this situation. Thank you. Happy Friday, Tim. How's it going? Somebody said, Donald Smith, what's up, Donald, says, Garrett Wilson or Sutton. I'd rather just have Sutton. I'm going to be honest. I think it's a better offense. I think they're obviously equipped with a better passing quarterback. And of course, he is still the number 1 of his offense. So if we're going to talk about target opportunity, I think it's going to be very similar between the 2. I think there's even more touchdown upside in the case of Courtland Sutton as a possession wide receiver in comparison. I could make the argument for Garrett Wilson in a full PPR, but I'm not sure if I want to be... I don't want to hitch my season to the Jets offense. Let's just put it that way. Okay, Sung sends in a question. Thank you very much, Sung. I greatly appreciate it. It says, hey, Andrew, is it crazy to take Chase Brown at the 2.01 in a 12-team PPR? before Achane, Henry, and Genty. Is it crazy? Okay, considering the Achane situation, I would say it's not crazy to take him ahead of him. But as of right now, at 2.01, okay, so this is my logic, okay? If you don't select Chase Brown in the beginning of the second round, you are not going to get him once the draft comes back to you. So if you feel confident in the idea, as do I, if you feel confident in the idea that he can be a top 6-7 running back by the end of the season, which I certainly do feel that way, especially in a full PPR, then 2.01 is fine. Because again, you would not have an opportunity of selecting him at a later experience in your draft. So as of right now, I don't mind the selection. Do I believe there are better picks overall? I think Genty is probably ranked higher in my mind. I mean, let me check my updated full PPR rankings. Did a couple adjustments. Yeah, I have Genty as my number 5. I have Chase Brown as 6. I have Derrick Henry 7. I have Achane at 8. Of course, Achane with the calf injury. So I don't mind it. I don't think it's crazy. Because again, if you don't take him there, you're not going to get an opportunity to get him elsewhere. Unless, of course, you're going to trade for him after the draft based on who you select at the 2.01 accordingly. C. Banger sends in a question. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says in a 12-team full PPR Superflex tight end premium league. First 4 picks. I have the 1.8, 3.8, 4.3, and 4.5. Your suggestions. I want Lamb, Chase Brown, Hampton, Purdy, but seems unlikely now. At the 1.8 in a full PPR Superflex tight end premium, you'll absolutely get Lamb in the first round. Because ultimately, I would assume that the first 5 selections are going to consist of most likely quarterback. And then subsequently after, we're probably going to see, Bijan and, of course, Jamar Chase come off the board. So if we see the top 5 quarterbacks and the 2 best, non-quarterbacks come off the board, then you can absolutely get Lamb there. In the event in which you're playing in a league where people are less quick to pull the trigger on a quarterback, then it may be a little bit more sketchy in that situation. But I don't see Chase Brown falling. Well, you know what? 3.8. I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility. I think what you've constructed is fine under the assumption that your league is not clamoring to get all the quarterbacks off the board. In leagues in which I've experienced, whether it's even the mock drafts we did a couple weeks back or the leagues that I've personally played within, typically Purdy's not going to be there in the 4th. He's more of like a 3rd round taken player. But again, just depends on how your league mates function in that situation. I think it does provide a little bit more potential for players like that to fall because of the tight end premium format. If I was in your position, I'm trying to grab like McBride in the 2nd, like legitimately, or maybe you can get Bowers in the 2nd, but I doubt it. I think he's a late 1st. I think McBride is a middle of the 2nd round kind of selection I'd be comfortable with. I'd be very comfortable going after Kittle in the 3rd because of that premium format. David sends in a super chat. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. 10-man half PPR Christian McCaffrey, a good pick if he falls to me at the number 7. As it currently stands in a full PPR scoring format, I have Christian McCaffrey as my number 7, legitimately. Now, this is obviously behind Jefferson and Lamb. So if one of those 2 do not land in your lap, then of course, I think Christian McCaffrey is a solid pickup. Because, looking at the alternatives, you have Puka Nacua, who is, of course, still got a little bit of sketchiness revolving around him, even though I feel more comfortable, probably more than I would say the average person regarding his future, even if Matthew Stafford was to miss a couple games. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has proven over the course of his career, whether it's as a 49er or a Las Vegas Raider, that he can support a wide receiver or at least support 2 receiving options within an offense, whether it's with his days with the Raiders, supporting Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers at a good rate, and of course back to his days with the 49ers in which he was able to support Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo within a singular season. So again, I'm not too worried about Puka there, but that's an option as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, if you're just looking for flat safety where there's no potential for risk, you could go for one of those wide receivers and then follow it up with a running back in the 2nd round in the form of someone like, Chase Brown, Derrick Henry, Achane, Bucky Irving, etc. Just a matter of how you kind of want to build your team. I'm all in on the Christian McCaffrey effect. So as of right now, that's the direction I'm leaning in. Okay, Flotation sends in a question, says, I'm excited to be back in the lab. Hope all is well. Please check Twitter for questions. Okay, let me go ahead and see. I think you probably sent something over here. Let's check this out. Did you send me a DM or did you just at me on Twitter? You just at me. Perfect. Thank you, Flotation. I appreciate it. Okay, let's see what your question remains as here. Okay, really quickly, before I answer this question, for those of you who are joining us this afternoon, welcome. Hope you guys are having a magical Friday. Over the course of this live stream, again, besides answering questions, hopefully giving you guys as much information as I possibly can in regards to your upcoming draft. We will be conducting a couple mock drafts in just a moment, so just be patient with me. Of course, I try to get to all the questions that I possibly can to the best of my abilities. I do appreciate y'all coming by. If you have not yet already, do me a favor, click the like button. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, Flotation, looking at your squad, says Andrew, Joe Flacco, Ray Davis, Bayshaw Tootin on the waivers. My team is a project, finesse team. Wondering your overall thoughts on the squad and my matchup. Okay, matchup I'm not going to talk about this week because, again, I don't even know who's playing who in week one. Okay, I'm in full draft mode. And then Eckler or Tracy feeling a lot better than last year. Yeah, last year, Flotation, you ran out of depth so fast that we were having to play Tyler Lockett. Like, it was rough. Like, it just wasn't comfortable. But looking at the team as a whole right now, Josh Allen, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones, St. Brown, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Mark Andrews, Tyrone Tracy, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, Texans defense, which is a top 5 defense. I think you're in a far better position. You have Eckler coming off the bench. You have Bateman for touchdown potential. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're in a pretty strong position in comparison to where you were last year. I don't think this is a project per se. I think it's like a finished project. Now it's just a matter of, can these guys deliver and stay healthy? Tracy's my preference as to the follow-up question. But as for Bayshaw, Tootin, Ray Davis, Flacco being on waivers, considering you already have Russell Wilson, unless you're going to pick up Flacco to utilize him as a trade piece, I'm not really looking at that. If you're playing in a 12-team league, though, absolutely picking him up without a doubt in my mind. As it currently stands, Lambert can probably be dropped. Go get Bayshaw Tootin. Give yourself a little bit more running back potential for a lottery pick there. That's the way that I'd go about it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Flotation. All right, let me go ahead and let's see what we have here really quickly in the live chat. I do see a couple of you sent in super chats. I'm greatly appreciative of it, but I want to answer a couple quick questions here that I saw. Somebody asked my thoughts on JCM. Okay, so this is the thing about the Washington Commanders backfield. Yes, earlier on in this live stream, I did mention my thoughts regarding Christian McCaffrey and the, Brian Robinson Jr. trade, formerly of the Commanders, to the 49ers organization. Obviously, now the question remains, what do the Commanders backfield kind of function as going forward? I currently, as it stands, in a half PPR, I've adjusted my running back rankings to have JCM as my number 28 back, along with Eckler as my number 36, and where is Chris Rodriguez? Chris Rodriguez is in my top 70. Again, I think that JCM probably is going to be the guy that we want out of the group. Austin Eckler will go ahead and get himself utilization as he did last season. And if his veterancy even gives him an opportunity to even go beyond the normal RB3 range, he could be a flexible player going forward under the assumption that, again, he gets enough touches total on a per weekly basis. But as of right now, yeah, JCM, I think there's a lot of potential there. Again, anytime there's a rookie running back that can be selected late in your draft and has an opportunity of taking over a backfield, we're all over it for fantasy purposes. Sean Waldron sends in a question. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. Says, in a 12-team full PPR league, I'm the 12th pick overall in a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, and a defense format. I was thinking BTJ/London with Henry/Genty, then 2 running backs with Walker and Kamara, or for the flex, then hammer wide receivers. I mean, at this point, in a 12-team full PPR, I do not mind at all the potential of going double wide receiver on the turn. I think that presents a lot of potential for upside, considering the 2 that you just specifically mentioned, BTJ and London. So I don't mind it. Personally, I'm more inclined to go in the direction of at least getting 1 running back in those first 2 rounds. But if you think that Walker and Kamara can be there on that 3-4 turn, then so be it. I'm willing to go in that direction. But if I was you, full PPR, I'm probably going like Genty and BTJ, just getting the balance available. But again, I don't mind the London BTJ process, considering the approach of what you're looking for in that in that 3/4 turn as it stands. But I do believe that going double wide receiver and then maybe even just 1 running back in the 3rd/4th and then another wide receiver could even be an approach that could work, primarily because of the double flex format and the full PPR scoring league. But for me, if I was in your position, I'd split it. I go RB wide receiver, And then I may just, in fact, go RB wide receiver again, depending on what's available. Pretty much, pairing up Kamara with a wide receiver and trying to push it from there. Considering it's a 1 QB league, considering the full PPR format, unless Kittle falls to you in the 3/4 turn, I'm punting on quarterback and tight end from the 1.12. Thank you. Mike sends in a question, says the following. Says, I'm the 6th pick in a full PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Assuming Jamar Chase, JJ, Lamb, Gibbs, and Bijan are off the board, who am I taking and why? In a full PPR, under the assumption that basically the best players are gone, the only one that you did not mention is Saquon Barkley. So Chase, JJ, Lamb, Gibbs, Bijan. I'm taking Barkley at the 1.6. That's the way that I'd go about it. Why? I mean, Saquon Barkley. At that point, I'm very comfortable in that direction. I mean, if you wanted to go wide receiver, I suppose you could go with the safety of like an Amon-Ra, but I just think at 1.6, I think it's probably, I know in the 3 wide receiver league, 1 flex, you could theoretically just go heavy wide receivers, but I think getting that hero RB is essential in my mind. All right, let's see here. Really quickly, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to preemptively prepare a draft that we can all conduct together. Jeez, I'm not rolling my syllables there. So I'm going to go ahead and copy an invite link. I'm going to put it in the live chat right now. It's going to be a 12-team half PPR 3 wide receiver draft. If you guys want to join, we can do it as such right there in the link. And then once you guys are in, I will go ahead and I will change the graphic on screen, and then we will subsequently draft. If that's something of interest to you guys, go ahead and join there, and then we'll be good to go. In regards to, okay, let's go ahead. Let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question. Ramon says, Andrew, I'm currently on a plane headed to Miami to OKC to draft tomorrow. I've got the number 6, the number 19, and the number 30 overall. Give me some targets. My thoughts are JJ, Gibbs, or McCaffrey at 6. I agree, given the scenario. Yeah, I mean, considering, I don't know what your scoring format is, but if you can get, let's say it's a full PPR, if you can get JJ, Gibbs, or McCaffrey at the 1.06, I think that's solid. I think at pick 19, around that range, considering what you start in let's say it's a full PPR format, at pick 19, I'm probably looking to try to grab someone like Lad McConkey or Jackson Smith and Jigba. If I've started wide receiver and I'm trying to address running back, I could theoretically go after, a Bucky Irving or a Jonathan Taylor. If you're feeling really spicy about it and you feel a little bit more confident about what that 30 pick is going to kind of persist of, you could go Brock Powers in the 2nd round. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, let's say if you go Gibbs in your 1st round, go JSN or McConkey in the 2nd round, and then follow it up with your 3rd round pick around pick 30. Maybe Kyron falls to you there. Maybe you could go with someone like George Kittle in that 3rd round. Just depends on what you're looking for. Otherwise, you can go with the safety of like a T. Higgins, Mike Evans, etc. Okay, so I do see that many of you guys joined this draft, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to transition the graphic there. The ball is flying at the screen. That is correct. All right, so I went ahead and I picked the number 6 spot. If anybody wants, I'll just start it. Again, just really quickly, I'm just going to show everybody the current format. We're going to go, as of right now, let's just go full PPR. Let's go full PPR, 12 teams, 60-second pick timer. Let's update that. And then let's go ahead. Roster, again, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and 5 bench. Okay, sounds good. Let's go ahead and let's start the draft. And we'll go ahead and continue to answer questions as we conduct this draft. All right. And again, safe travels, Ramon. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Joe Wilson sends in a question. Says, I'm in an 8-man half PPR, 1 flex format, 7th pick overall. McCaffrey and Lamb seem to fall to me. Sounds good. I'm confused about my 2nd/3rd and 4th rounds. Do I go tight end, quarterback? Yeah, look, in an 8-man league, I'm not really too keen on going tight end unless you're getting them. Let's say, for example, if you're going to grab a tight end, it's in the 3rd round. Like Bowers is a 3rd round selection in an 8-man league. He is not a... Oh, I'm on the clock. All right, beautiful. Let's see what we have available to us. Yeah, I think Bowers is a 3rd round selection in an 8-man league. And even then, because of the 8-man format, you don't get as much of a theoretical advantage in the situation. So seeing as who has gone, I'll take CeeDee Lamb here. Let's see what we can build in terms of a wide receiver first round pick structure at the 1.6. As for the okay, let's see here. If I was in your position, let's say theoretically you start McCaffrey or Lamb. I think regardless of what you go in the second, third, or fourth rounds, you're going to have an all-star team. I would probably say the way that you want to structure it, considering the half PPR, is maybe even going 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. If in the third round you get there and you want to go with someone like Josh Allen, I think you could. But I'm more inclined to go like RB, wide receiver, RB, then follow with maybe like a Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts in the fourth before doing anything else. That's the kind of way that I would approach it as it currently stands. All right, let's see what happens to this draft. So in a full PPR, we had Derrick Henry at the 1.7, then followed along by St. Brown, Collins, Nakua. Being able to get Neighbors and Genty at that turn is, I mean, sheesh. Being able to get McCaffrey and London on the turn, I'm surprised BTJ did not come off the board. In a full PPR, I think there's a little bit more reception advantage in the favor of BTJ. You'll probably go here in this next selection, but we'll keep an eye on that as it, kind of persists. Cheeks, what's up? Says, welcome back. Questions in the chat. Cheeks, let me see if I can find it. I do. All right, let's see. It says, in a full PPR, I'm the 4th overall pick. I wanted to start with McCaffrey / JJ, Hampton, then either Kamara, JSN, or McBride in this league. Look, if you're playing in a full PPR, I think if you're able to get, let's say, for example, JJ, Hampton, JSN, I think that's a good start. That's the way that I see it. Nico Rico went ahead and he went AFK. No problem. Nico, hello, you there? Do I need to pause it and kick you? I don't know. But yeah, as of right now, seeing as to the players that you're looking for, I think Hampton's somebody you can get in a full PPR later. So like maybe you start with a JJ. You can grab Assault. I mean, I guess you could theoretically. You're going to have to fight for Hampton or JSN in that third round. I think you may be reaching for Hampton in the second. I mean, not maybe. You are. But, if you think it's going to pan out, it's going to pan out. We'll see. Okay, BTJ went there. Nico, you're back. Welcome. You got a pretty good you got a pretty good auto draft in your favor there. Let's see here. Okay, so in regards to your question again, Cheeks, you can get away with that kind of a build. But I think McBride is going to be tough to get unless you're getting him in like the third. Yeah. So maybe you can start with like a JJ, Chase Brown, JSN, Kamara, hopefully, something like that. Dolphin345 sends in a super chat. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. It says, I'm in a 12-man super flex full PPR auction league where I get to keep one player. Do I keep Bowers at $12 or BTJ at $19? Superflex full PPR auction league, I'm keeping BTJ. The only time I would ever keep Bowers in that scenario is in the event in which it was a tight end premium format where you get an additional half point per reception for a tight end. Otherwise, as of right now, I think the value points at which you're getting these players are really strong. And I think the $19 investment in the allocation of that in the favor of BTJ is probably the preferred of the two. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. So considering what is available, we have Achane available on this board. We have Jonathan Taylor. We have Kyron. We have Chase Brown. Again, listen, I'm a Chase Brown believer. In a full PPR in the second round, I have no problem with it. Considering the wide receivers that are available, I'm waiting. Yeah, I'll take my Chase Brown. I'll die on my Chase Brown hill this season. Continuing on. What do we have here? What do we have? We had a question that came in from OJ Running. Another follow-up says, Beard looks fire. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Pick one in the fourth. Running back Scatterboo, Blue, Braylon Allen, Ollie Gordon, or Bigsby in a full PPR. Thanks. Out of the group, I will take Jaden Blue first. Then I'll go with Bigsby second, Braylon Allen third, Scatterboo fourth, and Ollie Gordon fifth. That's the order which I will function with those players. Thank you. Rockstar says, no question. Welcome back. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much. Victor Barrera sends in a question, says, can you answer my issue with Better Guide, please? Thank you. Says, hey, Andrew, I put in the code on Better, deposited 25, made 2 plays this week, but haven't received the draft guide, and my draft is tomorrow. Can you help with the draft guide? Yeah, so really quickly, just to clarify, Victor. So you signed up using code Andrew, made a first time deposit, and then you made 2 plays. As long as the plays were within the Betr Picks section, what I mean by that is that you're picking more or less on a given player statistic, and you're pretty much putting 2 players within a singular play, and then you're sending that forward. As long as that was made, you're most likely on my email list. It's just a matter of, did you check your spam folder? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check my list as we speak, and we'll see if you're potentially on it. Yeah, Victor, you're on my list, and I sent you an email. I've sent you multiple emails. So it's probably in the spam folder, if I had to guess. So if you can go ahead and check that out, that would be great, because, yeah, again, I'm looking at your email right now, and yeah, I've sent you 4 different emails in like the last week. So you're good to go, brother. Hopefully you go ahead and find that in your spam folder and you're good to go. Again, guys, for those of you who sign up via Betr over the course of this season, again, like I mentioned before, when you sign up using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of $10 and make that first time play in the Betr Picks section a minimum of $1. You'll get those rankings. Please be sure to check your spam folder. Again, it is being sent from my email. So again, it may just end up in that spam because your system doesn't recognize my email. Again, I send it attached with a Excel sheet, which includes half PPR, full PPR draft rankings over the course of this month. And then every Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, it will consist of weekly rankings. Now, looking at this board, Devon Achane being able to fall to the 1.5's second selection is fantastic. Bowers going that early, I don't mind. The idea of going RB, Bowers, RB is, I mean, whew, I think that's a little expensive for my taste. I'm going JSN here very comfortably in a full PPR. He's a possession receiver. He had a ridiculous volume of, a total of receptions last season. He'll be the number 1 of his offense once again. I think I've got a pretty strong start as it stands in the middle of the draft. I'm really just letting everything come to me at this point and just playing it as such. I've noticed that nobody has gone quarterback as of yet, which again, isn't much of a surprise, because again, I don't even feel comfortable drafting Josh Allen until the late 3rd itself. But that's just how I function in a full PPR capacity. And considering I like the potential of guys like Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts just as much to potentially kind of vie for the top tier standing at the quarterback position. Anyway, Victor, if you did not receive those emails, and it's not even in your spam folder, there is an email in the description of the video or the live stream. You can go down there and you can send me an email, and I will personally send you a response with the rankings immediately back after today's live stream. Thank you. All right. Diggy sends in a question. He says, in a 12-man full PPR 3-player keeper league, okay, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, 1 kicker, and 1 defense. We have Josh Allen for a second. Okay. In a keeper, okay. Other 2 cases are Chase Brown for my 7 and Nico Collins for my 10. If I was in your position, Diggy, I would be keeping Chase Brown and Nico Collins. That's the way that I'd go about it. Just purely off of the functionality of the value which you're getting to keep those players in the 7th and 10th rounds in comparison to overkeeping or overpaying for the value of what Josh Allen presents. I understand keeping him every year is very valuable to you, but going forward, I'm going to go ahead and just say Chase Brown and Nico Collins are the appropriate and I think the correct decision in that circumstance. Okay, let's see here. Anadi says also wide receiver video coming out soon. Yeah, tomorrow. So again, yes, technically I did yesterday say that I was going to put the wide receiver video out today. Again, I needed to update rankings because so much had happened today. So I made sure that all those rankings are up to date on Patreon. And for those of you who have signed up via Betr using code Andrew and taking care of that entire process, those rankings have been sent out earlier this afternoon as well. So everything's good there. Tomorrow we'll talk about my top 45 wide receivers. On Sunday, we'll talk about my top 50 flex players going into this upcoming season. So everything will be ready. So hopefully if you guys draft this weekend, it'll be of service to you. Josh Allen going there. That's a pretty solid start. I'm not going to lie. Going triple wide receiver also incredibly works. I don't love Garrett Wilson in the 3rd round, guys. I don't understand it. Someone's got to explain to me why. That's what I want to know. Why? All right. Levant sends in a question. What's up, brother? I know that you sent me a question earlier today on Patreon, Levant. Let me see what you had to say. Where do you do your mock drafts at? As in the ones that are right here. This is on Sleeper. So, yeah. All right, I got Potential sends in a question. It says the following: in a 12-team league, 4th pick. First, okay, we have Gibbs, Saquon. Okay, okay. Second, Bucky, Chase, or Kyron. Thinking Tyreek in the 3rd, or should I target someone like Higgins? If I was in your position, I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind going Tyreek in the 3rd. I think that's kind of probably I would go in that direction. So if I'm going to start double RB, I'll take Tyreek in the 3rd. So I'd go like in this under the assumption it's a half PPR, I go with like Saquon. If it's a full PPR, I go Gibbs in my first round. In the second round, depending again on the scoring format, it's either going to be I'd probably just go with Chase there. So I go like Gibbs, Chase, and Tyreek. I think that's a pretty solid start. Thank you, Potential. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Nico, did you go AFK again, brother? Nico's probably he's off and about. Smooth Criminal, what's up? Says which side? Jonathan Taylor and Ridley or Breece Hall and Rashee Rice? I would rather have the Jonathan Taylor Ridley side. Just purely off of the fact that I get Jonathan Taylor, who in my mind going into this upcoming season, I don't care what scoring format you play in, whether it's a full PPR or whether it's a half PPR, we're talking about a top 25 player, right? Sure, Rashee Rice is capable of top 25 upside, but he's also probably going to be suspended for a good volume of time. All right, let's go ahead and let's make a selection here in the 4th round. Seeing as to what is available, we have DK Metcalf, we have Rashee Rice, we have DJ Moore. We've got some solid wide receiver options. As for running back, Kenneth Walker, okay. Montgomery, is there a George Kittle potentially available? No, it isn't. Quarterback is gone. I'm not really going to go ahead and reach there. Considering my format as it currently stands, how many seconds do I have? 30, beautiful. Let's go ahead and look at my rankings here in terms of my full PPR. Seeing as to what is available, DK Metcalf is there. And the next best available running back would be Kenneth Walker, who I don't have until way later. So I'll take my DK Metcalf and I'll keep it pushing. And seeing as the board kind of helps me out. So if you guys can see my mouse. Okay. Gibbs, Hampton, Barkley, Taylor, Bijan, Kyron, Cook. So all of these teams, or 3 of the 4 of these teams, have 2 running backs already. So the likelihood is that if you're going to triple RB up here, so be it. You're killing your wide receiver depth in a 3 wide receiver full PPR league. But I'm going to go ahead and bet that they most likely aren't going to be triple stacking RBs unless they're trolling me because they're listening right now. In which, if you do that, shame on you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Manil Patel, who says, best half PPR strategy for a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. I saw drafting 2-3 running backs early gives better projection. Aim for running backs, then receivers like Devontae Smith, Ridley, and Sutton. I think it's doable. It just purely depends on what format you're in. Again, in a half PPR, I think that is a very functionable and actually a strategy that probably works out to the best of your situation. Being able to get a guy like Sutton, if you're capable of doing so, as like your wide receiver 2, after starting triple or like a double RB kind of heavy situation there, I'm all for it. So I don't mind that approach. Taking 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds in a half PPR, I think is an appropriate kind of strategy / kind of guideline. Mano Patel says I'm in a 14-team league as well. Yeah, in a 14-team league, I think your wide receiver depth is going to get slashed very quickly, or the running back depth is going to get slashed far quicker. So yes, addressing running back early, considering the format and the fact that we don't have to select tight ends because there isn't a starting tight end position, I think you're right in the idea that you're doubling up on RB early. I think that works. Sam Laporta in the 5th. My goodness, that is interesting. So Kenneth Walker is the only back that is taken. In the meanwhile, I'm assuming this team next to me, which is GOAT, is probably going to potentially address a running back at the moment. Depending on what they take, kind of will give me a little bit of insight as to what I'm going with. Seeing as, let's see, did Henderson come off the board? So there is no Henderson. He's probably taken, yeah, he got taken way before. I will just take James Conner. Yeah, I will take James Conner very comfortably. as my RB2, having started with a triple wide receiver kind of approach. I'll take the 17 to 18 points he averaged last season for 14 games. I'll take it. That's fine by me. All right, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Shang, who says, in a full PPR, do you prefer Pacheco over Harvey now? No, I would prefer Harvey in a full PPR format. So as it currently stands, Harvey is ahead of him in my current rankings and will continue as such until further notice. Let's see here. KG sends in a question. KG says, T-Mac or Calvin Ridley? Let me check my rankings as it stands. In a half PPR, I have T-Mac as my number 23 and Ridley's my number 24. In a full PPR, I have Ridley ahead of T-Mac. So it just depends on format. Half PPR, because of the less volume of receptions, and I'm assuming more touchdowns that may be scored by McMillan, I'll take him in a half. If we're talking about full PPR, just purely off of the reception base, I will lean in the direction of Calvin Ridley. But they're very closely ranked, so you can kind of flip the coin based on preference in that scenario. Somebody said Herbert or May. I'd rather have Drake May. AJ Brown or Ladd McConkey. Depends on format. If we're going to play in a full PPR, I'm okay going Ladd there because of the uncertainty of AJ Brown, but based on his injury, obviously, that he's currently rehabbing and should be back from. But if it's a half PPR, I'm probably just going to go AJ Brown there. I'll just stick with the stud. iShine, what's up? How's it going, brother? Hope you're doing well. Let me see how this draft is kind of unfolded here really quickly. I lost my mouse here for a second. Here we go. Aaron Jones in the 5th, I think is a little bit early in my mind. I don't think you need that third running back, especially when we have 3 starting wide receivers and 1 flex in a full PPR. I think the additional running back depth does not really do you much of a service here. I think if I'm selecting there and I took McCaffrey at 1.01, I need to grab a wide receiver here. Yep, you needed to do that because, again, the team next to you also didn't address the second wide receiver. So you're basically on this turn here. You have to take a receiver because you know that this team is going to have to address wide receiver based on the way that they've constructed their roster. So getting a wide receiver ahead of this turn is incredibly essential because, again, based on how you've built it and how they've built their team accordingly. iShine says, Subgroup, would you trade Tracy for Egbuka? It's interesting how your autocorrect kind of just butchered the name to Mbuka. Okay, Egbuka. My bench with running back stinks. Tracy is on my bench. It's a 12-team half PPR league. My flex consists of Jameson Williams and Travis Hunter. Either Tracy or Travis or trade for Egbuka. I honestly, at this point, I'd keep the team that you have. I prefer Jameson Williams and I prefer Travis Hunter over Egbuka right now. So I just keep it as is. Keep Tracy, keep the depth. Thank you, iShine. I greatly appreciate it. Very generous of you. I've got potential sends in a follow-up. Says, when to target Pearsall? Is the 6th too early? I guess it just depends on... I don't think so. From my perspective, I don't believe the 6th is too early. Like, if I look at the available wide receivers here in this draft, Flowers, I'd consider. But looking at the rest of this field, like Judy, Olave, Addison, Odunze, Samuel, Cup, Diggs, Golden, I'm taking Pearsall over all of them, right? That's the way that I would approach this. This is one of the craziest builds I've seen in a while. I'm curious where we're going here. What's the best available running back for this team? David Montgomery or Isaiah Pacheco or Joe Mixon? You can cash in on Joe Mixon or Tony Pollard, man. That's the play. You just take Pollard in a full PPR. That's the pick here. Yeah, of the available, it's a Pollard play. Because in terms of full PPR upside, if you're going to get Pollard to touch the ball 18 times per game like he did last year, like sheesh, I think that's just good value at that point. But yeah, I don't think Pearsall's too early in the 6th. I think the potential that he presents as being the number 1 wide receiver of the 49ers is far too valuable to kind of pass up on. Now, if you're taking him in the 6th on a platform and against other teams that really don't know what ADP structure kind of looks like and how to take advantage of it, like, because I'm drafting against you guys, I know that you guys are going to take Pearsall probably on this pick here just to spite me. But in terms of the potential of him and the value that I see going into 25, yeah, I think 6th round is fine. All right, let's see what's available here. We got... Okay, I was going to say we have Mahomes available here, seeing as Bo Nix just went off the board. I don't really love the idea of taking a tight end here in a full PPR. Seeing as to what is available, let me see. What do we have? Flowers is there. Pearsall is my highest ranked player of the availables. Like I just take him here and I just throw him in as my flex, and then I let it go because I think I'm going to be able to get a tight end that I want later on. I don't really need a Montgomery or a Pacheco or Mixon. I mean, if I had a little bit more clarity as to what that backfield for the Chiefs is going to look like in about 2 weeks, and what the potential of Joe Mixon's health look like, then it's an obvious, right? But they wouldn't even be available at this point. So seeing as to how this is kind of structured out, I'm just going to take my Pearsall and run to the hills. Josh Holt sends in a question, says, glad to be chatting with you for another season. I've got Travion Henderson in the 5th and Tucker Kraft in the 8th. Your good advice rolled over from last year. Okay, sounds good. Glad to hear it, brother. Appreciate it, Josh. Travion Henderson in the 5th, huh? Yeah, he went in the 4th in this draft. My goodness, 4.1, so it's pretty much the 3rd. KB sends in a question, says in a 1.2 PPR, 12-team, consider Jamar or Bijan. 1.2 PPR, it's Jamar Chase, and it's not even remotely close. The math is on his favor, and it's not, yeah, it's ridiculous. Somebody asked, am I trolling if I take Jordan Mason before Aaron Jones? No, I don't think you're trolling. I think you're just looking forward to the second half of the season. I think that's really what you're doing at that point. All right, let's see here. Anonymous, what's up? Says Tyler Warren or Loveland? I prefer Tyler Warren. I think Loveland has the potential to be a guy that scores a lot of touchdowns because of, Loveland associated with that offense and how Ben Johnson likes to utilize the tight end position. But he alternatively has a lot more competition for targets, right? When you have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, there are just more mouths to feed in that offense in comparison to when you look at Indianapolis. If you have a healthy Josh Downs come week 1, it would be Josh Downs, Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor. I don't really see guys like A.D. Mitchell or Alec Pierce as like weekly feeds. They're not going to get consistent target volume. They're deep receiving threats. Let's see here. Gabriel says, hey, Andrew, I'm in a standard 14-team league, but quarterbacks are massively juiced. For instance, Lamar scored over 550 points. I picked 13th. Would you go quarterback? Yes, I would. But this is the thing. I mean, like, I'm willing to get any of the top 5 quarterbacks there early if the position is juiced. But the question is, what exactly are we talking about in terms of the entailed structure of the scoring format? Because one moment, let me go ahead and see what I can pick here. Agbuka came off the board. Chris Godwin here is absolutely bonkers. Okay, Debo Samuel's a good selection there. Is Olave still available? No Olave. That's what I thought, because Olave is a little bit too valuable to let him pass up there. Pacheco's still available here. DeAndre Swift I would probably take here blindly. I still feel really comfortable with the tight ends that are available here on the board. So seeing as how I like everything that sits here, I'm going to go in the direction of a DeAndre Swift play and just build up the depth. I will address quarterback and tight end accordingly in the future. I could have went for a TJ Hawkinson there. I really, guys, I feel so confident in the idea of drafting 2 tight ends in a, let's say, 16-round draft and just playing matchups early until one of them break out. And what I mean by drafting 2 tight ends, like I'll take a Tucker Kraft and I'll take a Dalton Kincaid, and I'll wait and see, who's going to be the more consistent one, or I'll just play the matchups and I'll just let it ride. But I don't see like the absolute need outside of that top 3 kind of structure of the position, specifically McBride, Bowers, and Kittle. I don't see the need of having to grab the Hawkinson there, at least for my team right now. I'm just going to build depth and just let it ride. Okay. We had a question that came in from David Luna. David, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. It says, call me crazy, but I think I'm going to go RB in a 12-team full PPR 8th pick. Genty, Bucky, Hampton, then hammer wide receiver thoughts. Also, Bucky or Chase Brown. I mean, really, at that point, it's just up to you. Personally, I think Chase Brown is the preferred of the two because, again, he doesn't have a Rachaad White / Sean Tucker in his back pocket. You know, his backup is a rookie running back. That is a low-round kind of draft capital investment, and Samaje Perine, which, again, isn't going to get any looks. So I'm leaning in the direction of Chase Brown there. I think it's a higher scoring potential offense in 2025. I think he's got actually more receiving potential for upside, especially considering the averages he presented last year. So Chase Brown is my preferred of the two. Obviously gets a little bit less rushing potential in the upcoming season, lesser offensive line play, tougher schedule in terms of the rushing category. Going triple RB, again, it's just a matter of, can you hit on those wide receivers? Can those wide receivers outproduce their ADP? And I think you have a chance. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's happened many of occasions. Like the ability to be able to get like a Judy in the 7th, who finished as wide receiver 13 overall in a full PPR last season, is incredible value, right? So like there's always going to be guys that you can grab later in a draft after going triple RB and still find more than sufficient value from the selection that you make in their regards. Like again, full PPR, Judy was literally he was wide receiver 12 overall. What am I saying? 13. He was 12 overall. And he's going currently, because of the quarterback, situation and the uncertainty, he currently, comes off the board here in the 7th, which is insane value. All right, let's see here. Sam Duffy in the chat says, Bill, okay, so JCM, also known as Bill or Rodriguez. I'm going to go JCM there. Look, I've seen, okay, the way that I see it, I understand that Dan Quinn came out and specifically said, like, yeah, Chris, Rodriguez near the goal line, short yardage. I think Bill's probably going to win the job as we persist. All right. We had a question that came in from Joel Garza. Garza, what's up? Says, I'm in a keeper league. I draft second. Would you keep Lamar Jackson, Nico Collins, or Amon-Ra? I would keep Amon-Ra. And I would take probably Nico Collins at the 1.02 because that's probably going to be the best available player at that position. Or maybe there may be even a better player available to keep there. The only time I ever keep Lamar at that 1.02 is if you're playing in a superflex or 2-quarterback league. Thank you, Joel. Appreciate it. All righty. Let's see what we have here on this draft. Kelsey, Andrews, Warren, Ingram, and the tight end position has evaporated accordingly. No problem. Again, as to what is available, guys, y'all do me the favor. Let me have David Njoku. That is incredibly generous of you guys to let me have one of my favorite tight ends to possibly draft. Someone that, again, is incredibly slept upon based on his productivity, not only as a healthy receiving option and the one of the two primary receivers of that offense, but additionally, someone that is going to pair incredibly well with Joe Flacco early in that season. And they're going to have Joe Flacco out there for a long time. Because if you guys have seen the Cleveland Browns schedule to begin the season, it is brutal. Let me just pull this up. Cleveland Browns schedule. Let's go ahead and let's just review it real quick for the purposes of, Tyrone Tracy. That's a fantastic selection there in the 8th. I love that. Holy. That's a great pairing. That's actually incredible value based on where you got him. I'm going to take David Njoku here, though. All right, so where were we at again? Let's see. Oh, yeah, Cleveland Browns, their upcoming schedule, right? They get Cincinnati week 1. That's going to be tough. Then they have Baltimore. Okay. Then you have Green Bay. Okay. Then you have Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. That's the first 6 weeks of the season, okay? You are theoretically taking on, not theoretically. All of those teams had winning records last year in the first 6 games of the season. So already we're in the blender. So then at that point, there may be a possibility in which we get a quarterback swap after the bye week 9. But then after that, we have a softer schedule going forward after that, right? You have the Jets, the Baltimore Ravens, the Las Vegas Raiders, 49ers, Tennessee, Chicago, right? So at that point, you have the Jets, Vegas Raiders, Tennessee, matchups that, again, are going to be a little bit softer in that scenario for the younger quarterbacks at the time, if they're thrown out into the mix. All right, continuing on here, let me go ahead and bring this down. We had a question that was sent in from Gerardo. Thank you very much, Gerardo. I appreciate it. It says, in a 10-team standard format, 4th pick, who and 17th round 2? Okay, in a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, At the 1.04, I am taking any of the available best running backs. So under the assumption that Bijan, Gibbs, and Barkley are gone, honestly, I'm probably taking Derrick Henry there at the 1.04. That's how I'd go about it. If not, I'm taking Jamar Chase because I'm just looking for yards and touchdowns, and I think both those guys are probably in a really good, solid position there in a standard format. As for your second round selection, I'm probably going running back regardless of which way I go in the first round, looking to try to get as much value in that scenario. As to who falls to you, it depends. I mean, in a 10-team league, if you're able to get like a James Cook in the sec, no. Maybe running back is not going to be as thin as I project. You could probably get Kyron maybe in the second if you get lucky. I think that could be fun. David Luna had a follow-up in the chat, says that the Bengals offensive line and Jamar and T. Higgins bring majority of the offense scare. Again, Chase Brown was able to function with that same terrible offensive line last season and still be solid. So I'm not too worried about it. If you wanted to pick Bucky, again, they're back-to-back ranked within my rankings, so I'm comfortable there. There's the Tucker Kraft selection. There's a Loveland selection. These are all great picks here. ETN, solid there. Brian Robinson I just don't get it there. Jordan Mason, solid there. All right, so seeing as how this draft has constructed itself, looking at what's available at quarterback, and I'm like pretty comfortable with what's kind of available going forward. I see a lot of names that I can get later in my draft. How do I want to play this? I think I probably play it. I play it like that. Let me just grab my other wide receiver and we will keep it moving. Because quarterback at this point, like, what do we have? 3, 6, 9 already taken? Like, I'm already comfortable with the idea that I know who I'm getting and I'm just going to wait for it. And I'm just going to build my depth elsewhere. 3 wide receiver league, structuring it out pretty effectively. Okay, sorry about that. Where are we at? We had a question that came in from It's Okay to Laugh, who says the following. Thoughts on a quarterback / running back stack? Yes, I'm all for it. If it's Josh Allen and James Cook, I'm cool with it. If I don't get a top 5 offense, Hurts, Saquon, Lamar, Henry, Allen, Cook, etc. Okay. You get all the touchdown shares. If anything, especially Hurts, Saquon, high floor, no. Yeah, I think it's solid. But again, the issue remains where you're able to select Saquon this season in terms of, the draft capital required in comparison to last, right? Like you have to take them in the first 4 selections. If that's the case, right, the most opportune time for you to take Jalen Hurts will be in the 4th round, to which, again, it's very seldom he's going to fall to you in the 4th. So that's a less potentially capable outcome for you putting that together. Now, I think it's probably more likely that you can get away with going Derrick Henry and Lamar. I think that's probably the best build if you were going to do one. Just off of pure ADP. I think going for the other ones potentially become reaching options there. Let's see here. Big Verge sends in a question, says, if you miss out on an elite quarterback, which ones you like going late, and which running backs you like most, must-haves? Which running backs do I believe are must-haves? I mean, again, it just depends on the format and the way that you want to build your team. Now, let me get to the first question first and foremost. Which quarterbacks do I want to take late in my drafts if I don't go with one early? Seeing as to what is available just in this league alone, like the idea of being able to still function with Brock Purdy, he's my number 9 ranked quarterback this season going into this year. So looking at the board and seeing as to him still being available at this point, I'm comfortable waiting for Purdy. That's the guy I want. Now, as the drafts go on, there may be a chance where someone else in your league is, relatively comfortable going Purdy and he's gone. After Purdy, I think there's other options consisting of Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, that all have rushing upside, but then additionally have improvements that surround them, whether it's coaching staff. Again, when we're talking about Caleb Williams, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, they all got new OCs. They all got new weapons. They're all in positions to be in a far better spot than they were this time last year. So they're all progressing in the right direction. They all got better offensive lines too while we're at it. So again, I think those are the guys that I'm comfortable with if I can't land a Purdy, theoretically speaking. At least when I'm speaking about this draft and your situation. Now, continuing on in regards to rookie running backs that I like the most and that are must-haves. As it currently stands, really any of them I'm happy with. Whether Genty, Hampton, Henderson, Harvey, Caleb Johnson. Where did Caleb Johnson go in this draft? He went in the 6th. I think that's great. Geez, look at where David Montgomery went. My goodness. Sheesh. Am I on the clock? No. Caleb Johnson, JCM now is another viable option there. So, there's some good running backs out there that are rookies that are, again, I have a lot of them ranked within my top 36. So we'll see how it goes. It's a good year for running back, especially based on the draft. All right, let's see here. If we continue on with Jack Boy, who says in a 16-team half PPR, pass/rush first down grants bonus points. I have Lamb and Ladd. Okay. Who should I take at the 3rd round? AJ, Hill, Chuba, Kenneth, Brees, Jalen Hurts. You get a point per passing first down. I think that's ridiculous. But again, everyone's going to have a very similar volume. I don't know if it's like advantageous to take an early quarterback in that scenario. I don't see it relatively being one. Let me just really quickly figure out what I want to take here in terms of running back. Okay. I think if I don't take a quarterback here, am I getting too cute? No, I don't think I'm getting too cute. I'm going to take my Jaden Blue shares and I'm going to keep it moving. All right. Maybe a little bit early on the Jaden Blue shares, but I'll take him in the 10th round, considering how many rounds we got here and what I'm looking at. Okay. So continuing on. If I'm in your position and I'm starting Lamb and Ladd and I'm getting a point per first down, I'm probably, of the best available options you have here, I'm taking AJ Brown. And I am very comfortable with that, having those 3 wide receivers carry my squad. Carlos Douglas Jr. sends in a question. Carlos, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says in a 14-team full PPR keeper league, keeping Bucky in the 17th, I'm taking Chase with the 2nd pick. What positions should I attack in rounds 2 and 3? I mean, in a 14-team league, everything's going to be relatively thin because of the keeper functionality of your league. If I'm in your position, PPR 14 teams, running backs can get dry relatively early. So I'm probably in a position to where I'm maybe looking for a running back in that 2nd round. If not, maybe if guys like McBride aren't being kept, looking for him in the 2nd round. Otherwise, best available wide receiver, 2nd round in a 14. Maybe JSN, something like that. I think that's solid. Thank you. DC sends in a question. DC says pick 7 in a 10-man super flex. I took Hurts, then Pat. Okay. Sounds good to me. LG didn't value quarterback. The league didn't value quarterback. Great. I got Drake, London. I have Bucky. I have Chuba. I have Harvey, Sutton. Nobody else went 2 QB in 3rd. Did I goof? Look, here, this is the way it works, right? I think it's very much so important that in your league, you have to kind of play it by how they draft as well, right? So even though I say, hey, this is the structure that we should be drafting in, if your league mates don't respect the value of, quarterback in a super flex format, then you have to kind of convert your structure of drafting slightly to their favor, but then still take your opportunities at selecting your 2 quarterbacks. In my opinion, based on how you built your roster, having Hurts and Pat, you'll never have to replace them outside of the bye week, and even on bye weeks, just fire them up. Maybe they'll score some point. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think you have a pretty solid team. I don't think you goofed theoretically in this situation. I'm fine with the idea. In a 10-team league, again, considering you don't have to compete to get a lot of quarterbacks because everyone's going to have a 3rd available on roster. It does lessen the value of a quarterback in comparison to a 12-team league or a 14-team league, which again then it becomes crazy. Alrighty, let's see here. Where are we at? Blue just got hurt. Wow. Wait, when? When I was live streaming? Is that what you're telling me? As I'm streaming, he got hurt. If that's the case, then you know what do I to do? It is what it is. We running mocks? Yeah, we'll run another one right now. Again, we're in the final rounds here. We're gonna close it out, and then I'll go ahead and conduct another one. In regards to how this draft has kind of constructed itself, seeing as to what I have available, like, look, it may be smart for me to take someone like Trey Benson here, considering I have James Conner on roster. Again, I don't love it. I'd rather just go get the quarterback that I want, but then again, I don't need to. I'd rather just legitimately looking at how much time do I have left on the clock? 34 seconds. Let's talk this through here. If we look at my wide receiver availability, yeah, I'm just cool taking Kincaid there and just letting it ride. I'll take my 2 tight ends. I'll just let one of them beat the other one out eventually. I'll take a quarterback and a running back, and I'll close it out. Okay, really quickly, we're going to go full screen here, and then I'll go ahead and set up another mock draft on the other screen. Then I'll get you guys joining in that. Before we do, again, of course, we're drafting. We're answering questions over the course of today's episode. Tomorrow, we'll be out with our top 45 wide receivers. That'd be Saturday. Sunday, we'll have my top 50 overall players, so that's flex. So that'll include running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. But for those of you guys who want those rankings prior to your upcoming drafts, of course, check out Betr. We'll go ahead and just really quickly, let me log into my account and just travel over there. Share a couple of the plays that we've made over the course of this week in the different videos really quickly. So let's go ahead and let's share that really quickly. The ball should be flying at the screen, and Andrew's going to be, oh, there, okay. Oh, that's not it either. There it is. I was about to say, I was like, what's going on? So in terms of some of the plays that we've made in this week in specific, as of late, George Kittle going higher on his receiving yards, David Njoku going higher on his receiving yards, Kincaid going higher on his receiving yards. Funny enough, I just drafted Njoku and Kincaid for the same team on this mock draft. Putting it out there, very interesting. But again, let's see what else we have. We have Joe Burrow going higher on his passing yards, Lamar Jackson going more on his passing yards as well. Again, these are numbers that when I look at it across the board, it's pretty ridiculous. So again, if you guys want the rankings for the remainder of the season, whether it's your draft rankings or potentially Sunday morning rankings every single week for the remainder of the season, half PPR, full PPR, click the link down below, sign up using code Andrew via Betr, make that first time deposit minimum of $10, and then make that first time play minimum of $1. And all you have to do is make a singular play within the Betr Picks section, picking more or less on given players. For example, that Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson play, in which you're picking more or less on their passing yards. And then you'll be eligible. You'll be on my email list, and I'll send you that out. Again, I just updated my rankings today, so if you've already done so and signed up and you are ready to go in that regard, check your spam folder if that hasn't arrived in your regular folder. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, really quickly, let me go ahead and set up another draft so we can conduct that. Let me see how the rest of these rounds went. You know what I want to do, actually? I'll conduct it right now. I just want to look at these teams just really quickly, just to see how these constructed out. Warren, Dobbins, Judkins, Sampson with a McCaffrey start. This is interesting. Is it ideal? It's interesting. Okay. Warren as your RB2 scares the daylights out of me, but it's doable. It's not something that is out of the, again, it's kind of sketch. What else is available here in terms of picks? Okay. Let me see here. Chase, Kyron, Josh. Okay. James Cook, Worthy, Burrow, Odunze, Ikbuka, Mixon. I don't mind this. That's a lot of wide receivers, but I don't. The Godwin pick and the Pittman pick throw me off a little bit. Taylor, McLaurin, Laporta in the 5th. Look, here's the thing. Even though I may be plucking at a couple things, there's a couple of my picks that are a little bit sketchy. Like taking Coleman here in the 9th is sketchy, but like taking Laporta in the 5th, I think you could have got him in the 6th, right? This is what I'm like trying to convey. I'm not trying to like pick on you and say like, hey, what are you doing? I'm just trying to say like, based on the value that you could theoretically find him at later in your draft, based on how the draft kind of conducted itself, there was an availability in which you could have waited. But again, it's not to say that it's a wrong decision, because you can certainly outplay what my projection is for him this season. McMillan here in the 5th is nice. Rashee Rice, very interesting. In order for Rashee Rice, guys, to be a 5th round selection, that means he has to be top 24 by the end of the season. Really quickly, I just want to let me convey what exactly that means. So in a full PPR, in order to be top 24 at the position, okay, last season, the number 24 ranked wide receiver was Jawan Jennings. He scored 210.5 fantasy points, okay? So if you're going to score 210 fantasy points, theoretically, in order to be the number, like a top 24 pick, Rashee Rice in this upcoming season, let's say he's suspended for 6 games. So for fantasy football reasons, from weeks 1 through 17, we're going to miss him for 6 of those games. So of the eligible 16, we get him for 10, okay? Theoretically speaking. In order for Rashee Rice to return on investment, he's got to average 21 fantasy points per game in a full PPR. Is he capable? Abso-freaking-lutely. Based on what we saw last year, he is more than capable. But that is so sketch. I don't know. I mean, man, more power to you. More power to you. That's what I got to say. More power to you. Okay. Let me go ahead. Let me set up another draft here. Let's go ahead. Let me create a new mock draft. In regards to, let's go draft settings. Let's go ahead and let's copy this. I'm going to drop it right here. For those of you who want to join, you can do so right now. And then you can join alongside of me in drafting. I'm probably just going to take a pick on one of the ends. I'll take the 10th pick, and we'll just see how it goes. Until then, let me answer a couple of these questions. Josh sent in a question. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it, brother. Says, what would you rather have, Achane or Jacobs? Or Achane, okay, Achane and Jacobs, or Achane / Jonathan Taylor? Or Jacobs and Taylor. I'm going running back. As of right now, I'm relatively comfortable with going Achane and Taylor. Because of when Achane sustained the calf injury and the fact that they have, I don't know if it's truth. Again, coaches don't have to tell the truth, and predominantly they don't. They're liars by nature, especially in the NFL. Typically, when a coach says, oh, it's preventative, we don't know. We don't know for sure if that's the case. But as it stands, thinking about the potential, yeah, I'm okay going Achane and Taylor. If you're worried about his injury, just take Jacobs. It's not a problem. As to what I would rather do, especially if it's a full PPR, I'd rather have the Achane play. If it's a half standard, then it's a little bit more, it's probably in your better interest based on the scoring format itself to just take the safer of the bets. All right, really quickly, let me go ahead. I'm going to change these draft settings. This time around, we're going half PPR, 12 teams. We're going to go with a 30-second pick timer, so it's a little bit of a quicker draft in that regard. We're going to reduce it to only 2 wide receivers, so it's also a quicker draft in that regard. And then we're sending it here. So without further ado, let's ride. All right. Status on Jaden Blue. Ankle, won't return Friday. Okay. Good to know. Thank you very much. How do you chat with me on Patreon? Okay, so when you're on Patreon, if you've signed up, there in the I have an entire instruction guide based on it. Let me go ahead and let me read it out just so everyone's on the same page. So when you're on Patreon, for those of you guys who are subscribers there, in order to send me a direct message via the Patreon messenger service, you have to find the envelope in the top right corner that's labeled as quote unquote message. From there, you can direct message me with any of your questions. Thank you. What's up, Donald? Says, y'all don't sleep on getting top tier kicker. Yeah, I agree. If you play in a league that has a kicker, I think it's definitely in your favor to get a Brandon Aubrey. I'm not even joking. If you can get him in the 11th, you might win your league because of it. It's insane. Brandon Aubrey is a monster. All right, let's see here. I get McCaffrey. Sounds good to me. Cool. Let's go ahead and let's do it. Let's see how I can build this team with a McCaffrey start as such. Genty's available. McCaffrey's available. Nico Collins. Yeah, no. Let's just go with McCaffrey. I still believe that he is in this top 4 conversation even after the trade today, so we're chilling. Jay sends in a question. Jay, thank you very much. Says in a 12-team standard full PPR format, how did I do? Or how well did I do? We have Bucky Irving, Kenneth Walker, CeeDee Lamb, Tedero McMillan, McBride, Sutton, Bo Nix, My bench consists of Trevion Henderson. Wow. The fact that he's coming off of your bench in itself is, I think it speaks volumes as to the kind of team you've already gone ahead and constructed. So well done on that. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think this is a really solid team. I mean, as a whole, Bucky, Walker, and Henderson. That is a great trio of running backs, in my opinion. Again, I have them all ranked within my top 20. Then you have CD, McMillan, Sutton, who are all top 24. You have a top 6 to 7, 8 quarterback. You have a top 2 tight end. I think you drafted incredibly well here. Of course, you took Chase Brown. Look, you couldn't let me have my Chase Brown on the turn there, huh? Is that what's going on? I mean, at this point, I'm taking Genty or I'm taking... Yeah, I have to. I got a double RB up here. Now, if I'm playing in a half PPR, based on my most recent rankings, I'm technically just... I'm going Henry based on the security of just what he's done over his... I just auto-drafted. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Sorry, I forgot it was a 30-second pick timer, but I got the player I wanted anyway. So let's see what a double RB status kind of structure looks like in a half PPR 2 wide receiver league here. Let's see how I'm able to build this. Cole says, when will I receive the draft guide if I use the Betr code? So the draft guide is not something that is available with the Betr code usage. It's only the draft rankings. At no point this season have I mentioned anything about a guide. So in regards to when you'll get the draft rankings and then the subsequent rankings. So the draft rankings, once your email appears on my list, which typically takes about an hour to 2 hours after you go ahead and make that, obviously signing up using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of $10 and make that first time play minimum of $1. Once that is constructed and all done, between an hour to 2 hours afterward, you should receive an email from me directly. And of course, expect maybe the first time around for it to land in your spam folder. And then once you've gone ahead and kind of taken my email and then kind of told your email service, whether it's Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, like don't send to spam anymore, then it'll be good going forward at that point. What is this draft right now? Wide receiver flew off the board. I mean, quick. Okay, interesting. What are we doing here? And then running back is just melted. Sheesh. Can I get Kittle in the third? Can I get Josh Allen in the third? I don't even mind getting Josh Allen in the third at this point. J-Card 429. Thank you, J-Card. Says in a 14-team standard, pick 8 full PPR snake. Any thoughts? In a 14-team full PPR, I mean, if you can get one of the top 4 backs or one of the top 4 wide receivers, sounds good to me. So whether that ends up being McCaffrey or Puka / Amon-Ra, that's something that I do not mind venturing down that road. Avery says, can't lie, my leagues are nothing like these mocks. No leagues are ever like mock drafts. Again, mock drafts are very interesting in the idea that, like, the way that people draft, it's very much so like, yes, you are testing the waters, right? Like, am I always going to take a McCaffrey Henry combo here? Probably not, because I usually probably won't have the opportunity to do so in a half PPR. But then again, it is presented, and I took the advantage, that presented itself here. In a half PPR, considering what is available, I mean, do I need Kittle in the third? No, I don't need him in the third. I don't need that either. At this point, let's just take JSN, and then I'll probably get a wide receiver here in the fourth, and then structure it out accordingly. Jordy says, just had my home league draft. Can you tell me what you think? Yeah, just go ahead and type it in the chat. Thanks. Let me know what your scoring format is. Nick in the chat says in a 10-team half PPR. Do I go Josh Allen at pick 23, or do I go with the running back positional? Yeah, I wouldn't take Josh Allen until like pick 30, legitimately. I don't want him in the second round, personally. Unless you're playing in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I don't think you need to select them that early, in my mind at least. Floppy Antelope says, assuming Jaden Blue is okay, do I drop him or Caleb Johnson to pick up a kicker? I have Purdy. You drop Blue. Caleb Johnson's far more valuable this season. Far more. Because his role is already kind of constructed out at this point. Okay, let's see here. What is going to be the best available at this point? Okay, so seeing as to this is a half PPR. If I look at my wide receiver rankings, if T. Higgins is available, T. Higgins was taken. McLaurin goes. I'm okay with Devontae Adams or Metcalf here. I'm very comfortable with either of the two. Mike Evans is also available, so I'll take Mike Evans there. Miami. What does it say? Slim says Andrew takes on Miami's backfield in case I missed it. My right shares feel in shambles. Yeah, at this point, I think Achane's going to be fine. Fingers crossed. But besides that, I think Ollie Gordon is probably going to, in the event of which we see Achane miss time, Ollie Gordon will certainly be making Wright's kind of... Wright is not going to have the full workload share of the backfield. Let's just put it that way. Ollie Gordon will be the early down back. Wright will probably utilize in, the receiving category, but he's certainly not the caliber of receiver as Achane is. Low-key Ollie Gordon, the new Raheem Mostert. Fingers crossed. From your mouth to the fantasy god's ears. I love the ADP of Mike Evans this year. Yeah, I agree. Listen, the fact that we don't have Godwin for any guarantee, like the fact that Godwin is probably not going to play till October based on the reports we've read. And again, when we look at the upcoming schedule for the Buccaneers, right? Buccaneers schedule. Anytime we potentially look at like, oh, when can a player of that caliber return based on injury? They have a week 9 bye. So there's a potential in which like they wait him out until the end of October and then only just get him to return in November, right? So there's always the potential that Jalen McMillan obviously getting injured. He's going to miss a significant amount of time. So it's basically Mike Evans, K. Dotton, and a rookie receiver. And don't get me wrong, Emeka Egbuka is a monster. But Mike Evans is Mike Evans, right? He's a Hall of Fame, one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. 11 consecutive years of 1,000 receiving yards. Has played 96% of the games of his entire career healthy. Has scored a touchdown in... If I'm not mistaken, I think... Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, my YouTube just crashed there. Anyway, I can go on and on about Mike Evans. I'll talk about him tomorrow when we talk about my top 45 wide receiver rankings in regards to that kind of jazz. Okay, let's see here. No more Kyle Williams hypes in this chat, by the way. I don't even know what... Was there ever hype about Kyle Williams for me? I don't think I've ever talked about Kyle Williams. Up until this very moment, this is the first time I think I mentioned his name. Outside of potentially talking about Drake May's potential because they brought him more wide receiver help. That's basically it. Alrighty, let's see here. What do we have? Okay, so going into this round, considering I've already gone ahead and I've structured my roster based on double RB, double wide receiver, a little bit older team here that I've gone ahead and constructed effectively. Mahomes, I mean, at this point, I'm just building an RB at this point. I'm going to build an RB mountain and just let it ride. If the opportunity presents itself to take someone like George Pickens, I don't mind it there. Calvin Ridley's still available. Really like that. Yeah, good options here, depending on what falls to me. St. Brown, Genty, Daniels, Wilson, Flowers. Not bad. Actually decent. I'll take a share of RJ Harvey. Let me tell you why I'm going RJ Harvey here. You see this team right here? Has no running backs. Has to address the running back position. This team, one running back. May address the running back position. So based on this, I'm taking my favorite running back of the bunch, putting him in my back pocket and just running because I know by the time the draft comes back to me, he probably won't be available there. And I'm okay taking a lesser discount at wide receiver because, again, I've already structured out my roster in terms of these are my 2 starting running backs, these are my 2 starting wide receivers, this is my flex. And now I'm just building depth accordingly. Okay, Egbuka going to the 6th to 9th, no later. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've seen him go in the 6th. I've seen him go in the 7th. I've seen him go in the 8th. Very rarely does he ever go back into the 9th based on the most recent, news and stuff like that. So if you have to pay for him, you got to, it's a hefty cost for his services as of right now. Yeah, I'm comfortable going Jameson Williams there. Pretty good. I'll take the value there in the 6th. I don't even know how he falls to the 6th. For a guy that averaged 12 points per game last year, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I understand they're going to take offensive steps back, but he's still a beast. All right, Green Screen Man says, hey, Andrew, how would you draft in a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex league in a super flex? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, look, this is the thing. If you're going to play in a super flex format, it's purely just a matter of how your league mates draft. If you anticipate to see 5 quarterbacks selected within the first round, and then subsequently the top 12 quarterbacks, maybe top 10, taken within the first 2 rounds, I want to try to get 1 quarterback within the first 2 rounds. I want to try to get my second quarterback by at least the 5th, and that's how I would approach it. So basically, like if I have a top 5 pick, let's say I'm at the 1.01 in the Superflex. I'm taking Josh Allen. In the second round, I'm going to grab a wide receiver. In the third round, I'm most likely going to grab a running back. In the fourth round, I will then address my quarterback along with like a wide receiver at that point and just let it ride because of course, the 3 wide receiver starting format. So pretty much I'm just going to play hero RB and just go heavy on wide receivers and quarterbacks early on. Adam Amar sends in a question. Adam, hope you're doing well. Nice to see you. Adam says, in a 12-team full PPR Superflex Dynasty competing, Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Fields for quarterback, but I need a wide receiver help, okay? Says I have London, Evans, McLaurin, Judy, Addison, Myers, and Coker. Leggett, Ridley, and Quentin Johnston. Okay, so you got a really solid group of receivers. I mean, obviously, we're still waiting on the status of Terry McLaurin, but London, Evans, those are 2 top 15 guys. Judy, again, underrated. But again, we kind of need to see it to believe it based on, the 1 year of incredible production and the quarterback kind of carousel that they may have this season. If you're looking for, is the question a matter of like, are we making any moves in terms of trades? Because if you're looking to trade, you could theoretically, I'm not selling any of your quarterbacks, by the way. That's not what I'm doing here. If we're going to make a trade or a sell of some sort, you're probably at that point just trying to move Addison. Or maybe, I don't even think you need to move. Yeah, you would try to move Addison because at this point you have, well, no, he's your youth for your future. You're not really moving him at this point. You have Ridley. I think you're fine. I think your wide receivers are just old, right? Like Evans, McLaurin, and Ridley are up there in age. And that in itself is kind of like sketchy. But you still do have London and Addison. And hopefully Leggett turns into something this season. Judkins in the 7th is diabolical. Oh, it's an auto draft. Never mind. Well, I was about to say that's some diabolical business. All right. So, seeing as I have the ability to take Sam Laporta here, I can't do it. Genuinely, I can't because do I want to have 2 Lions? I don't mind it, but do I need it? I'm going to take Diggs here. I'll probably follow by going. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, now I have to take Laporta. The fact that he is available. Can I put a star on him? Yeah. Can I auto draft him? What are we doing? Now I have to take him. Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott, chat. I'd rather have Dak Prescott this year. Okay, so this draft is pretty much going to conclude itself. How long have we been here? 1 hour and 34 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to draft here another round or a couple rounds here, and then I will wow, look at that. Pacheco, Pollard, and Warren. That is a interesting looking team. When I say interesting, my goodness, we are gambling. Maybe a little bit too sketchy for my blood, but hey. Brian Thomas, London, and T. Higgins are going to have to carry. All right, I have to take Laporta. I don't care if I have 2 Lions. It doesn't matter. At this point, it's too good a value to pass up on. Okay. Mixon or RJ Harvey? I'd rather have RJ Harvey. Until I hear anything of positive nature regarding Mixon, we'll have to wait, regardless of scoring format. AJ says, forgot to say my question is based on a 12-team PPR. I like Pickens, and especially if I can get JSN. I've been targeting Kraft in the 8th. AJ, let me see where the heck your original question was. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so AJ, I just saw your question. I think I scrolled past it by accident. I may have. Apologies, AJ. Thank you very much. Very generous of you. Says I draft 11th this year. Do you like starting with Henry, Jacobs, Taylor, Hurts, then Kittle? Okay, Henry, Jacobs / Taylor, Hurts, then Kittle. Okay, I don't like Hurts in the third per se. I think I'd rather put a wide receiver there. So that, yeah, that's kind of the way that I'd look about it. And then it says other names like Neighbors or JSN in the third. Yeah. So if I was in your position, AJ, I'm going to go like, if you can start double RB and get JSN in the third, which I was able to get JSN in the third round in each of these last two drafts that we just conducted, and I really like JSN there. I'll 100% take him over Hurts. So that's the way that I'd go about it. Take the double RB to begin with. If I'm in your position, I take Henry and Taylor. I follow with JSN in the third, Kittle in the fourth. I think that's a beautiful start to your upcoming draft. Then you can once again go ahead and invest at wide receiver in the fifth round as to what could theoretically be there. Again, Pickens could be available. Calvin Ridley, Zay Flowers, McMillan, Worthy, Sutton, Devontae Smith. Again, there's a lot of studs across the board in that scenario. I appreciate that, AJ. Apologies for not answering your question quicker. Just kind of slipped and flew up the screen and I completely missed it. My apologies. Alrighty, let's see how this draft is going to conclude itself in terms of what we have. So based on the quarterback selected here, Purdy's gone. Caleb Williams is still available, and that's probably the way that I'm going to go about it. I will take my Caleb Williams and I'll fly out into the sunset and be comfortable with it, and then that'll pretty much cover this. As for running back depth here, Tank Bigsby still available. That's something of an investment. Could be made. Josh Downs still available as a wide receiver. So is Jawan Jennings. That's always a decent option. Where did Pearsall go in this draft? Legitimately curious. Where's Pearsall? Pearsall went in the sixth. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple more questions. Then we're going to close it out. I do appreciate y'all coming through. Adam Amar says, I have Tank, Bigsby, ETN, JT, Trey Benson, Connor. We have the third string running back for the Rams, and then Jonathan Brooks. Okay. So in regards to your roster and how this is dealt with, you have Jonathan Taylor, you have James Conner. If I'm in your position, Adam, I am trading wide receiver and I'm going to get running back. That's the way you go about it, because you have London, Evans, McLaurin, Judy, Addison, Myers, Leggett, Ridley. You got to move wide receivers. At this point, try to go find a team that in this kind of Superflex Dynasty format isn't contending, does have running back depth, and needs wide receiver. I'm sure there are somebody out there. That's the way that we're going to go about that. Brock Bowers or Josh Allen in the third, assuming I went RB and wide receiver, I'd rather have Brock Bowers in a full PPR. If it's a half PPR, I could justify going Josh Allen. If it's a standard, I would probably just go Josh Allen. Standard is in 0 points per reception. What's up, Weston? How's it going? Okay, again, final couple remarks before we close out today's live stream. Tomorrow, I will be back. Oh, I'm on the clock. What am I doing here? What are we doing? Sure, we'll take Jawan Jennings. Okay. Final, let me just close that out. Final couple things. Tomorrow we'll be back with my top 45 wide receiver rankings. Sunday will consist of the top 50 overall player rankings. So quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. And then, of course, next week we have a lot of content. And I will be back starting Monday through the entire week there. Live streaming every night. So I will be back with daily live streams soon enough here. Obviously, once the season starts, guys, as you guys are comfortable with, as you guys are familiar with, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday live streams, Saturday, Sunday live streams, as we know. So this is going to be a consistent thing. Obviously, we're still getting slowly back into the season, but we're almost there. I do appreciate y'all coming through tonight, supporting the channel. Answer a couple more questions here. We had a question from Toast who says, I draft 1.1, got Jamar Chase, BTJ, Chase Brown, Kamara, Hampton, Mahomes. Okay, that's just a ridiculous team. I wouldn't just feel good. I feel like you kind of won the league. Okay. B Van says, even in a full PPR with 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 flex roster, do you recommend going 2 RBs in the first 2 rounds? No. In a league in which you start 3 wide receivers and 2 flex, and considering it's 5, so basically you can eligibly start 5 wide receivers in a full PPR. I would take 1 running back early, and then I'm going all wide receivers, and that's how I build my roster there. Thank you, B Van. Appreciate it. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. JM, thank you. Appreciate it. Floppy, thank you. Gerardo, we took care of you. And then the nice guy says, I told you. Okay, yeah, good to go. good to go. All right, I think that's it. I appreciate y'all. That's going to cover me today. I'm going to cue the wonderful and great double helix. And until next time, everybody, have a great rest of your night. See you guys. Peace.